In 1840, in a crumbling chateau deep in provincial France, a husband died slowly, in agony. His young, aristocratic wife wept at his bedside, playing the role of a grieving widow. But soon, whispers spread. She had been feeding him arsenic in his food and drink. This was the case of Marie Lafarge, the most sensational French murder trial of the 19th century. It was a trial that divided a nation, created a media frenzy, and gave birth to a new weapon in the courtroom: forensic toxicology. Marie Capel was born into a noble but impoverished family. Well-educated and charming, she longed for the life of a cultured lady. But with no dowry, she was considered a poor match in 19th century France. Through a marriage agent, she met Charles Lafarge, an ironmaster who promised wealth, a thriving foundry, and a beautiful estate called La Glandier. They married in August 1839. Only days later, Marie arrived at her new home and discovered the truth. The Grand Chateau was a decaying, rat-infested ruin. The ironworks were failing. Her husband was drowning in debt. Marie felt trapped, betrayed, and furious. That very night, she wrote a desperate letter threatening suicide by arsenic, a detail that would later come back to haunt her. In December, Charles traveled to Paris. To show her devotion, Marie sent him a Christmas cake. Hours after eating it, he fell violently ill with cramps and vomiting. Believing the cake had spoiled in the mail, he threw the rest away, never realizing he had likely survived his first poisoning. When he returned home still weak, his illness worsened almost immediately after eating food prepared by Marie. Charles's family watched anxiously as Marie played the attentive wife, mixing his medicines, preparing his meals, never letting anyone else near his food. Not everyone was convinced by Marie's performance. A guest, Anna Brunn, began noticing troubling details. Marie kept a small malachite box with mysterious powders. One day, Anna saw her stir a white substance into Charles's eggnog. "It's just sugar," Marie claimed casually. But Anna saw white flakes floating on top. Instead of trusting the doctors, Anna quietly saved the glass, along with other food Marie had prepared. This act of suspicion, preserving the evidence, would prove decisive later. Meanwhile, servants reported Marie had asked them to buy arsenic at the apothecary, supposedly to kill rats. But strangely, the rat paste was untouched. On January 14, 1840, Charles Lafarge died, and the suspicions exploded into open accusation. Marie had poisoned her husband. A search revealed Marie's malachite box, also with traces of arsenic. Her alibi about rat poison collapsed. The investigation began with confusion. The local magistrate, Moran, collected the food samples Anna Brunn had hidden away. They contained arsenic. But the key question remained: was arsenic in Charles's body? One report said yes, there was arsenic. Another test said no. The courtroom became a battleground of failed science. Local doctors claimed they could detect it. They boasted about using the new Marsh test, invented only 4 years earlier. But in truth, they had no idea how to run it properly.
The Marsh test, developed in 1836 by James Marsh, was a highly sensitive chemical method for detecting arsenic. In this process, a sample was reacted with zinc and acid to produce arsen gas, which was then passed through a heated tube where it decomposed. leaving a brown deposit of elemental arsenic on a cold surface. To distinguish arsenic from antimony, a hypochlorite test was applied, as the arsenic deposit would dissolve while the antimony deposit would remain.
Investigators preserved only Charles's stomach, burying the rest of the body, and their clumsy experiments produced contradictory results.
What do you have to say in your defense, Madame Lafarge?
I am innocent.
In the summer of 1840, the trial of Marie Lafarge began in Toul. It became a national obsession. Some saw Marie as a cold murderer. Others saw her as a tragic young woman, betrayed by her husband and now by the courts. She played her part well, dressed in mourning black, fainting dramatically, and receiving thousands of letters of sympathy, even marriage proposals from admirers. The real drama, though, was scientific. Witness after witness contradicted each other. The Marsh test, supposed to be the terror of poisoners, was failing in the hands of provincial chemists. At one point, the court was told, arsenic was in the food, but not in the body. How could that be? The trial reached a deadlock, until one man entered the courtroom, the most famous toxicologist in the world, Mathieu Orfila.
Mathieu Orfila, known as the father of toxicology, was a pioneer in forensic medicine. Born in Minorca and later working in Paris, he introduced chemical analysis into criminal investigations, developed tests for poisons in blood, and was among the first to use the microscope in forensics. As dean of the Paris Faculty of Medicine, he reformed education, built hospitals and research centers, and became a prominent but sometimes controversial public figure. Called as an expert in famous trials, he argued that soil could affect exhumed bodies and must be tested to avoid false charges of poisoning. Despite political setbacks, he was later honored as president of the Academy of Medicine, leaving a lasting legacy in forensic science.
Mathieu Orfila, dean of the Paris Faculty of Medicine, was the father of modern toxicology. He set up his laboratory inside the courthouse itself, insisting on full transparency. The local chemists who had failed before were forced to watch as he repeated the Marsh test step by step. He tested the soil from the grave to rule out contamination. He tested his glassware and chemicals to prove they were clean. Then he examined Charles's exhumed remains. Before the jury's eyes, the telltale black metallic stain of arsenic appeared. The verdict of chemistry was undeniable. Charles Lafarge had been poisoned. Marie Lafarge was found guilty of murder. She was sentenced to death, later commuted to life in prison. The case split France in two, some convinced she was innocent, others sure of her guilt. But beyond the drama, one thing was clear. For the first time in history, science had decided a trial. The Marsh test became famous, Orfila a national hero, and forensic toxicology was born. From that day forward, poisoners could no longer rely on secrecy. A single chemical stain on porcelain was enough to speak for the dead. The Lafarge trial proved one thing: in the courtroom of the future, the most powerful witness would not be a neighbor or a servant, but science itself.
Don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps us create more stories like this for you.